Anybody show up? Oh, Trey showed up. What happened today?
What was it?
What happened today? Somebody else?
Everyone was scared to drive.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 19. There's one. Who am I missing?
No.
You ready? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Yeah. God has given me many gifts and abilities. It is my responsibility to use them and not waste them. My outlook on life is a choice, not a reaction. I will make my world a better place for myself and those around me. I will do my best not to make a comment out of ignorance. The only prayer in my life is the house in October and Decatur in the spring. The world is not a satellite of myself. I'll be a part of the solution, not part of the problem. Just because I'm a tree doesn't make me wood. I will give my best because I expect your best. Stop being offended by things that don't concern you. There's a chance I might get bacon today. I will never misuse Rex Kwando. I will be a champion of freedom and justice. All right, today's quote is from Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. If you just want to put Longfellow, that's fine. H. Longfellow, just Longfellow. Now we're not skipping this. Don't be lazy. Put this in your phone somewhere. Y'all put all kinds of stupid garbage on your phone. This at least will help you. I think he wrote, I know he wrote something, some poem. Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. Did he do them? I've heard of him. So if you're a poet and I've heard of you, that's massive. That means you're amazing. Yeah, that's huge. There's only a couple of poets I've ever heard of. I think Paul Revere. Anyway, we judge ourselves by what we feel capable of doing. We judge ourselves by what we feel capable of doing. We judge ourselves by what we feel capable of doing. Others judge us by what we've done. We judge ourselves by what we feel capable of doing. Others judge us by what we've done. We give ourselves a pass, but we don't give other people a pass. We judge people on their accomplishments. We judge ourselves on, well, I didn't, or we give ourselves excuses. Kind of like last week. Is that true? It doesn't matter what you feel like doing, you just got to do things. There's certain things you got to do. It doesn't matter what you feel like. All right. I want to talk about a couple things. They're having huge riots in Israel. What y'all's phones do any of this weekend? The riots in Israel. What do you think it's about? What's been going on in Israel this whole year? Well, for thousands of years, but this week. Yeah, that Gaza. What did y'all hear of Hamas this weekend? What did Hamas do? What are y'all's phone? What's on y'all's phones? Just garbage, or is there actual real stuff on there? Y'all don't get anything? There's no legitimate stuff comes through? Well, you need to look at that. What did Hamas do this week? They dumped dead hostages, including an American. The hostages they took October 6th or 7th, whatever that was, almost a year ago, 10 months ago, they dumped about 6 dead bodies out, including an American. So they killed an American. You're the president. What do? Is there consequences to whatever you do? Yes. If that's little Christie, or if that's Colt, or Pacer, or Titan, what do I expect the president to do? Go do something. Take out the people that took them out. Is that logical? Okay, let's think about that. Am I thinking rationally? No. Okay? So I'm asking other people's kids to go die to fight for my kid that died. I'm not saying that's wrong, but if we sent troops into Gaza, what would that mean for other people's kids? Could that be would there be dominoes that fell? Because if we march troops into Gaza, now this country's going to come out, and this country's going to come out, and then this country's going to come out, and this. How did World War I start? Alliances. All these countries said, if something happens, we'll jump in with you. And they all had these little agreements, and some little pipsqueak prince, what was his name? Archduke Franz Ferdinand, that's a name you don't always forget. Some little pipsqueak prince gets shot by some guy that doesn't like stuff, and all of a sudden, millions of people died. Was that worth it? It was worth it. I don't think it was. I'm not saying it's wrong to do that. If the president does nothing, is there consequences to that? Yeah. I heard about I think it was, I don't remember where it was. Maybe it was in California. This guy beat the crap out of this police officer. All right, now here's what happens. This female police officer, she's little bitty. This guy's walking around, and she just asks, "What are you doing? Walk around this neighborhood. What are you doing?" He just keeps walking. And she reaches out and touches his shoulder and says, "Excuse me, sir." He turns around and beats the tar out of this police officer. She stands up and is like doing like this. He pulls out a gun. Missed her. Shot 4 shots at a police officer that he'd already beat the tar out of. He got released. No charges. No nothing. Because she had the audacity to touch him. What's that guy afraid of now? Nothing. You just taught that guy. You taught every criminal element something. You can do whatever you want. It doesn't matter. If you can beat up a police officer, and I'm a caveman. I see little Roberts as a police officer. Right? Is that different than Isaiah being a police officer? You're not the biggest. You're tiny. Isaiah can handle himself. All right? Is that different? When this jackleg beats the crap out of a little tiny girl. What have you just told every criminal element out there now? Hey, go ahead. Doesn't matter. Is that good? So if we do nothing, you just told all the terrorist people, hey, we don't care. Go ahead. Do whatever you want. I'm not saying we need to go blow them up. I'm not saying we don't need to blow them up. I'm saying we can sit here on the sideline and say it's 4th down. Yeah, go for it. If you got any guts, you go for it. You can say that in the stands. But if you're on the sideline, that's different. Does that make sense? We can sit here and say, go kill them. Okay? What's that look like? What happens after that? What's the ramifications of everything we do and don't do? That's one reason why being president is the worst job in the world. Because, yeah, we need to do something, but what do we need to do? And how do we need to do it? And what's going to happen after we do that? What's going to be the result of all that stuff? Well, there's that going on. I heard... Now, I've never met Kamala Harris, ever. I've never met Donald Trump, ever. Never spent time with them. So I don't know what they're like. I have no idea. Anybody know what they're like? We can make assumptions based on what other people have said or based on what we see. So I looked up here. Wanted to see some of their policies, what they say they want to do. want to talk about some other things later, but I want to talk about this one. One of Biden's proposals, who has turned into Harris's proposals, was a tax on unrealized capital gains. Do y'all know what capital gains is? Capital gains means you make an investment and it grows. So you invest in something and you make money off that. Does anybody want to do that in your life? Yes. We all want to have money here and grow, so maybe someday you don't have to work. When you're 70 years old, do you want to work? No. Do you want to eat? Yes. So something's going to have to happen if you want to not work, but you want to eat. And capital gains is how you do that. You make investments and then it grows. This would be a tax on unrealized capital gains for taxpayers with wealth greater than $100 million. Now, as soon as I said that, a bunch of y'all shut down. Oh, well, that doesn't matter. Yeah, take it from them. Isn't that all right, it's in America? If your wealth is $100 million plus, you can afford it. Yeah, pay more taxes. Take more from them. That's fine. Who creates jobs? People with $100 million worth of value. Okay, they're the ones who creates opportunities. They're the ones that invest in stuff. With this proposal, which proved highly controversial among certain experts, was recently confirmed as part of Harris's tax agenda, is drawing criticism from politicians in her rival party. Proponents of the tax argue it targets extremely wealthy Americans who have previously taken advantage of the lack of such tax to obtain a lower effective rate than many lower income taxpayers. Opponents say it will stifle economic growth and creates a slippery slope that could mean more taxes on unrealized gains. It also creates enormous compliance issues and may foment valuation disputes. In some ways, the Harris plan to tax unrealized capital gain is scary. Now, let's say it's just on people who have $100 million worth of value, okay? How could that stifle economic growth? You're asking someone to pay taxes on something that hadn't happened yet. That's what unrealized capital gains is. You made this investment, and we're going to go ahead and guess it's going to do this, so we're going to tax you on what might happen. Is that good? No. It's not real. Plus, okay, I'm just going to be real simple. Let's say I have $100 million. I'm going to invest in this company that wants to build a new factory in Wise County and hire people. And the government projects that that's going to make me, let's say the government projects that's going to double my investment. So they're going to go ahead and tax me on that. Am I likely to make that investment? Maybe not. So bye-bye jobs in Wise County. Now I'm projecting, I'm speculating here, but that's an example of what could happen. Does the government stop trying to get money? No. If they do that, then they'll say, well, let's go ahead and say people who make this much will do that too. And then people who make this much. And then could it eventually get to be any capital gain? Unrealized capital gain, stuff that hasn't happened yet. Can you get arrested for something that hadn't happened yet? No. You can't arrest someone because you think they might do something bad. Now, maybe that could stop some things from happening. If somebody's exhibiting behavior and you say, we got to get this guy off the street before something bad happens. Well, okay, but that's not American to arrest somebody for something you think they might do. We can't tax people on stuff we think might happen. That ain't good. So that kind of scares me. Now let's look at Trump and Harris's plans. Trump already cut taxes when he was president, 2017. He cut everyone in America's taxes. We all got a tax cut. If Harris is president, those will go away. I'm not campaigning for Trump. I'm just saying, here's the fact. He had a tax plan. He had a tax cut. If she becomes president, it goes away. They won't eliminate it. It just they won't renew it. It's set to expire, I think this year. So everybody's taxes will go up. if they don't renew that tax deal. Former President Donald Trump would seek to extend the tax cuts enacted through the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, his signature 2017 legislation that reduced taxes for most Americans, although research has shown the top earners receive the biggest benefits. That is true. The richest Americans got the best tax cut, but every American got one. I'm not claiming to be an expert. I personally don't mind rich people getting tax cuts, because what do they do with that money? They try to get richer. When rich people try to get richer, other people benefit from that. What if a rich person just wanted to build 10 new houses? Who builds the houses? Somebody. Somebody gets a job building a house. So that does benefit the economy. They put more money back in the river. If they're trying to build businesses, then other people benefit from that. I mean, I'm not saying, I'm real simple. Okay? He's also proposing to eliminate taxes on tips. Anybody like that one? Did you get taxed on tips? And I think they project that. Don't they say if you work this many hours, they project how much tips you make? That's the way it used to, because it used to be cash in the old days.
I know, like, if you work at, like, Sonic, you have to count out how much tips you get and put it into the system.
Okay. All right. But back in the old days, it used to be cash. So I think, anyways. And on Social Security income. Did y'all know you get taxed on Social Security? People with Social Security, you pay taxes on that income. Isn't that nice? Isn't that great? Al Gore, Vice President Al Gore, Clinton's vice president, voted for that one. His vote put it through the deal. And also lowering the corporate tax rate. What's the corporate tax rate? What's corporate sound like? Businesses. Cutting the corporate tax rate. They tax the profits of corporations. If businesses have their taxes cut, what's going to happen? If you own a business, your taxes get cut. Probably reinvest in that business, try to grow it some, maybe hire more people. If not, you're just going to buy more stuff. Just kind of benefits. Vice President Harris has proposed introducing more generous tax benefits for families, as well as hiking the corporate tax rate to help offset spending from bigger tax credits. Now, right now, I am not trying to campaign for one against the other. I just want you to see something. When I say bright lights and candy, this is what I'm talking about. President Harris would cut your taxes. Okay? Is that good? Yes. That's awesome. She said she's going to raise corporate tax rates, business tax rates. What does that mean for us? And more cost for us. If businesses have to pay more in taxes, what do? They raise prices, because that's a cost. Their costs go up. So if their costs go up, the prices go up.
Is that for anyone who has like a business?
I don't know. I don't know if the corporate tax rate is just for certain, but if you're incorporated, if you're in business, anybody here own a business? Does anybody here's parents own a business? Okay, they're LLC then, right? Do you know about that? Every 3 months, are they at the kitchen table yelling and screaming, have paper everywhere and going crazy?
I'm not sure.
Okay. You have to protect yourself legally. So you have to create a corporation, because then that gets sued and you don't get sued. You ever seen the trucks? If not, you will now. The plumbing truck says LLC. That's limited liability corporation. It means if someone sues you, they sue the company. They don't sue you. It protects you from that. So if you're an LLC, your profits get taxed. Then you get to take your percentage of the profit, and then you're taxed. So corporate tax rate would be what the profit is taxed. Because you've created that second thing for legal protection, now that thing is a separate legal thing that gets taxed. Did I lose anybody? So if they raise, I'm not Democrat, Republican, it doesn't matter. If they raise corporate income tax, costs go up. If they cut my taxes but raise my prices, does that help me at all? It's a wash. It might be worse, but it's a wash. Tax cut, okay, I make more money, it costs me more money to buy bread and milk and eggs and clothes. Okay? But they don't tell us that. They just say, we're going to raise taxes on evil corporations, and people go crazy. Yeah, they're rich, get rid of them, cut tax them. We don't think about that side. Also proposed introducing a more generous tax benefits for families. The two proposals reflect different views of how best to support U.S. families. On one hand, Trump's plan would provide tax cuts for all income groups, but the biggest winners would be higher income Americans. The greatest benefits under Harris's plan would go to the lowest income Americans, while she would up the taxes of top earning households. So they both are going to change taxes. Ultimately, both plans would come with significant price tags, although the combination of Trump's tax cuts for corporations and individuals would prove more expensive. That his proposal is forecast to add $5.8 trillion to the federal deficit over the next decade, compared with $2 trillion for Harris's plan. And that's true. That's a fact. I'm not disputing that at all. Anyway, keep track of what people. Don't just listen to what they say. Look into stuff. That was free.
Do you know anything about the IVF that he was talking about?
The what?
There's like this couple things I don't really know. Trump was talking about like how he was gonna like make it where IVF is free because it wants to promote things. Like when the president approved the IVF.
Okay. I didn't know that. I guess that makes sense. All right, what do you know about Democrats and abortion? Democrats want abortion. Every national Democrat, you can't be anti-abortion and be a Democrat. It just doesn't. Locally you can, but not. I have heard Trump is kind of backing off the pro-life stuff and not pushing it as much as he was. I know where I am, but I also hate when you politicize. Like try to use something to get elected or make something like that. I just hate politicizing that, but I see why you have to do it. I think they're supposed to have a debate next week. Is Harris and Trump supposed to have a debate next week? I think so. I think next week is debate. They have all kinds of rules, which I think are good. They're saying no live mics when the other person's talking, because we don't have decorum anymore. It's like me and Isaiah are debating, and he's talking about that's whatever. It keeps me from doing that. Keeps the people, and I don't know. We'll see. Can I tell you something biased? Did y'all hear the speech? Anything on the news about the speech that Harris made yesterday in front of the unions? I think it was I don't know which union it was. She used some accent. This politicians will do this. Brian Kelly, the LSU coach, he's from Connecticut. He's from Notre Dame, and he got the LSU job. Where's LSU? Louisiana. And when he took the job at the press conference, he said, "I just want to tell you that me and my family really appreciate being down here." That ain't how he talks. Why'd he do that? To sound like he belonged. And Harris used some accent that she sounded like something different than what she ever had yesterday. Politicians do this all the time. I can't. Trump just does his talk, his look. You know, that hair. If you're a billionaire, how do you do something? I mean, you know, wear a wig or something. All right. Our plan this week is to have a quiz Friday. We may not get there, but that's the plan. I want to finish these questions today. And then we just got a few more. We're going to take a quiz over these questions, I want to add some stuff next week. We'll review and we'll have a chance to do good next week. All right? We'll have a test next week, but we'll be ready.
Quiz Friday.
Possible quiz Friday. I'm going to say right now we're going to have it. If we can get done with this today, which we might not now, we'll have it Friday. But I always tell you the closest it is. So we did enlightenment. We got some enlightenment? Okay. William Blackstone is a very, very boring person. I never met him. But he's very boring, but he's extremely important. He was an English judge. Anybody excited about that? No. That's not, to me, that's not exciting. In the 1700s, he was an English judge. So that's very boring to me. He wrote a bunch of books on English law. Is that helping anything? Anybody read a law book? Yikes. I don't know how exciting he would be to talk to. I don't want to badmouth him since I never met him, but if you're an English judge and you wrote law books, we need that kind of person. You need that kind of person. I don't think they'd be fun to hang out with. But who knows? Who knows? He is the basis for our laws and our court system. We based our stuff on his writings. So we based U.S. laws, court system on his things, on his writings. Did you get this, Judge? You got this? All right, just like next to it. So William Blackstone, English judge, wrote books on law, and we based our stuff on what he said. Very important. Very boring. How important is an accountant to a business? That's the heart of the business. That's got to be real. That's got to be some of the most boring stuff in the world. Thank God people are willing to do that. I mean, I'm not saying they're boring, but that's really technical. You have to love adding numbers and keeping track of stats and stuff. And it's just not. 2 seconds into it, I just put the pen down. All right, the French and Indian War. Who fought the French and Indian War? It was English versus the French, and the colonists helped with that. The French and Indians got together and fought the English and the colonists. English colonists fought the French and the Indians. What was that about? Who's going to control the Western territories? Y'all can't all see this. Detroit, Terre Haute, Illinois, Des Moines, Iowa, St. Louis, New Orleans, the French, Montreal, all this right here. The French came in to here. The English had this. The French came in the West. What did the French do in America? What was their goal? They didn't want to make permanent settlements. England came in and pushed the Indians out. We want to build cities here. French came in, they want to make money off of animal furs. They want to trap animals. And they had little trading posts like St. Louis and Des Moines and Detroit and all that. They didn't push the Indians off their land. They kind of talked with the Indians and worked with the Indians. I don't know that they were necessarily not as racist as the English, but they knew the Indians could show them stuff that could help them make more money. So they're at least friendly to the Indians. That's why the French and the Indians were together fighting the English, because they both didn't like the English. The Indians didn't like it the way the English people treated them, and they tried to fight the English for territory here in the colonies. The colonists wanted to win so they could have access to that territory. The English wanted to win. And at that time, England and the colonies were, there wasn't a lot of, nobody wanted a revolution. Everybody was together. Okay? Everybody's on the same page. If you fight a war, whether you win or lose, what happens to you?
Lose money.
Men, money, and stuff. And I didn't trademark that. You can put that down. The winner loses men, money, and stuff. The loser loses it, but they lost. The winner wins, but they lost that. That makes sense to everybody. There's a cost to winning the war. Let's say, all right, we take these pictures every year. We do these pictures every year. I'm kind of mad because I didn't think about it, didn't start doing it until the boys were like in intermediate and junior high. Wish we'd done it since they were tiny. Every year we take this picture. Colt was gone, so he wasn't in it that year. And we were down there, I guess Pacers junior year, and we took the pictures, and Titan calls old Coach Cook the real Coach Cook, and he calls this Coach Cook something different. He drove up, he was driving by, he pulls up and stops, and is talking, and Pacer's gonna go home, so he gets in one of our cars, and he backs up. Okay, here's the road. Here's Pacer. Here's Coach Cook's car. He goes, backs up into Coach Cook's car. Smashes the back door. You know the little tiny car you used to have? Just the bumper just smashed it. Whose fault is that? That's Pacer's fault. He's playing basketball, he plays football, he ran track, he couldn't have a job doing all that stuff. But he had to help pay for it. He had to find ways to help pay for that. Why do he have to do that? That's his fault. So we're not paying for that, that's his fault. Whose fault was this war? Who were the English fighting for? The colonies. So in their mind, the colonies need to help pay for this. Is that illogical? That the colonies should help pay? No. So, next one. Because of the war debt, they decided colonists need to help pay for this and draw an arrow down there to the Stamp Act. The Stamp Act was the tax that they passed to pay for the French and Indian War. It was imposed on the colonies. It was 1765. What's that? No, that was different. That was a separate. That's a later one. How long before the Revolutionary War is this? When was the Revolutionary War? 1776. Dates are not always important. There's a few that are. Chronological order is more important than dates, but 1776 needs to be a date you plan in your head. That's when America started. That's like 11 years before this. This is the start of the revolution. Because when England does this, a lot of the colonists said, Parliament does not have the right to do that. That's illegal. That's an illegal tax. Now, before we get to that, this Stamp Act, to buy everyday items, I'm never going to ask you this, just everyday items, paper and a list of things that everyday colonists would have to buy. You had to buy a stamp with it. It'd be a tax on all these, so you couldn't get away from it. Why would the colonists say Parliament does not have a right to put a tax on us? That's true. Look at the front. I told you they had these rights, and they knew what those rights were, and they're very proud of it. What's that? What's the first thing we wrote? What can the king not do? Can't raise taxes without Parliament's permission. And what did I say Parliament is? The people. So here we have the people. Colonists, they didn't believe Parliament had a right to tax them. How does that jive with each other? Parliament's the one that taxed. And the law says king can't tax without Parliament. Why did the colonists say you don't have the right to do that? Who's not in Parliament? Colonists. They were English citizens. They had no voice in Parliament. And when they saw that right there, they said, well, we cannot be taxed unless we have a voice in it. What's the saying y'all learned your whole life? No. Okay. Without representation. That's where that came from. They had no representation in Parliament. And they were being taxed. As an English citizen, they were not given a say-so. And when they started protesting about that, Parliament said, or England said, well, wherever you originally came from, that's your representation. Does England have a point? Parliament passed the tax. They say that's fine, that's legal. That's what the law says we're supposed to do. So in England, I'll give them that. They have an argument. Did the colonists have an argument? Were they being represented? They weren't. And that law to them said, I have to have a voice. People have a voice in this. And they didn't have a voice. So that's the beginning of this idea of going to war against, and now not going to war. No, they did not want to go to war with England. Nobody wanted war with England. Why not? The best military, the strongest economy, they had rights. All they wanted was, I want you to get this down, the only thing they wanted was they wanted their rights recognized. They wanted to be treated right. They didn't want to separate from England because that meant death. And it meant an end to the gravy train. They just wanted their rights as English citizens to be recognized. That's what they were looking for. Does that make sense to everybody? All right, last thing. In March of 1770, something huge happened. Britain had sent troops to Massachusetts because things were getting a little bit shaky. There's a whole lot of protests, a whole lot of people making noise, a whole lot of people griping, people putting stuff in newspapers, people printing up flyers and saying, people were getting riled up, right? And England sent troops to Boston. If the king is sending troops to Boston, is that maybe a violation of British law? What do we say that the king can't do with the military? No martial law. Now, I'm not saying this was martial law at this point. They had troops there just to make sure everything stayed under control. If you're an English citizen living in Boston, do you have a problem with that? Because you might say, well, why are they here? Why are they imposing? What are they here for? I'm not doing anything wrong. So people were uneasy about the troops being there. Y'all probably saw that in a history book at some point in your life, right? What is that? Boston Massacre. This is propaganda. Propaganda is not always a lie. Propaganda is not always bad. If you just look at this picture, what happened at the Boston Massacre? You got the military unleashing an attack on regular citizens. Didn't happen like that. Let's say you are one of these soldiers. Do you want to be in Boston? No. You want to be in England. You don't want to be in Boston. So you're already ticked. And then these people are cussing at you, saying things about your mom, spitting on you, and throwing snowballs with rocks in the middle of them. Once you throw a snowball with a rock in it at a policeman, are you innocent anymore? No, that's assault. If you spit on a policeman, if you start cussing a policeman, is that a problem? Because now that could lead to something. So you're getting the policeman's attention. And once you hit somebody in the face with a snowball, even if it doesn't have a rock in it, but if you hit it with the face of the snowball with a rock in it, and that guy has a gun, you can't get mad when they shoot you because you started it. Am I saying it's okay for police or military people to shoot you? No, but you asked for it. You provoked it. You can't ask a human being to put up with that too much. And that's what happened. And a guy just happened to fire. There was no general going, fire! There wasn't that. But somebody shot. And one person got killed, a couple people got injured. I want you to write this down. This is the guy that died. Crispus Attucks. That's a name. You know, John Smith. That's not as good a name as Crispus Attucks. I think this is how you spell it. Crispus Attucks. How would you consider Crispus for a kid? It's different. Crispus. He was a freed slave. And he was the first person to die in the American Revolution. I count this as the American Revolution. Now, Paul Revere made this picture. What was he trying to do with this picture? Create sympathy. He lied in this picture. If you're ever in like a fender bender, where one car bumps another one, you tell your friends, yeah, the car just kind of came up, just kind of tapped us. It wasn't a big deal. You tell them that? It was horrible. We were just sitting there and bam, this car just came in. Why do you say that? You want to be a bigger deal and you want people to feel sorry for you, so you exaggerate a little. You might even think it happened like that. But you're trying to create sympathy. And that's what Paul Revere is trying to do. Who was the first guy that died? Crispus Attucks. A good running back name. Crispus Attucks on the touchdown for the Panthers. Not Christmas.
I know.
I know. We almost named Titan Amp. Because Florida State had a running back named Amp Lee. That's pretty good. Amp. You got your questions? That way, because I didn't do great on that. So you get it. All right.